23 years ago.
Yeah, we went to the moon.
Moon.
And we haven't been back since.
Just go to the moon!
Hey folks, welcome to Beyond Our Future, where we discuss space, rockets, exploration missions, and everything in between. In today's video, we'll find out why did it take over 50 years to go to the moon again. So, let's begin. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, the first people to ever set foot on the moon, stepped out from the lunar lander module on July 21st, 1969, and started conducting exploration on the lunar surface. The Apollo 11 mission, which would change the course of human history, will always be regarded as the pinnacle of the space race. 5 further Apollo missions would send astronauts to the moon between 1969 and 1972. On each trip, they would undertake lunar research and experiments, including bringing back moon rocks for analysis. However, the program was abandoned after the 6th mission, Apollo 17, which saw humans land on the moon. US President John F. Kennedy delivered his renowned "We Choose to Go to the Moon" address on September 12, 1962.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing.
The goal of his address was to rally the American people behind the Apollo program, which had started 2 years earlier. However, in order to go to the moon, NASA would need a heavy lift launch vehicle and a spacecraft that could both travel to the lunar surface and return passengers to Earth. The Saturn rocket family was created for this reason, and the Saturn V was the only suitable rocket for crewed trips. To send astronauts to the moon, a plethora of equipment, as well as extensive technical training, was required. Thousands of jobs would be created as a consequence of the investment, which would also lead to multiple commercial uses, significant scientific discoveries, and a cultural effect that is still evident today. However, the Apollo program itself has been valued, and this has already been done. The Apollo missions cost US taxpayers $25.4 billion USD in 1974, which translates to almost $144 billion now, after accounting for inflation. What did they do with all this money? Well, it went towards the creation of rockets and spaceships that were capable of transporting humans to the moon. The quantity of fuel and the big modules made it quite expensive. Additionally, the spacecraft and launch vehicles were both completely disposable. The same is true for the command, service, and lunar modules, which at the conclusion of each mission were either on the lunar surface, in orbit, or in the ocean. The mission architecture was not intended for reuse. Instead, it was created to be used once, then discarded. Furthermore, nothing durable or reusable had been constructed between Earth and the moon by the time the Apollo program was completed. Nothing that would enable resuming trips to the moon in the foreseeable future, including no space stations, refueling depots, or lunar bases. All of the infrastructure put in place to create and maintain the Saturn V's, as well as every other element of the Apollo program, was decommissioned when they were deactivated. In conclusion, the Apollo program was by no means effective. It was obviously not meant to be, though. To reach the moon as soon as possible and surpass the Russians, there was NASA's primary goal for the mission. It was more important to go quickly than to build up slowly and gradually to reach the lunar surface. If NASA had wanted to develop a long-term, viable, and effective method of getting to the moon, they would have adopted a slow strategy that would have most likely taken decades. This would have likely included constructing a space station in low Earth orbit using already in use single- and two-stage rockets. However, it's unrealistic to assume that they would have opted to go slowly and methodically given the historical backdrop of the Apollo program. The first moon landing would likely not have occurred until the 1980s, even if it meant that there wouldn't have been such a significant gap between the first moon landing and the next. After the US won the space race, both NASA and its Russian colleagues were compelled to pull back and begin considering long-term and affordable objectives. That required the development of technology that would enable a sustained human presence in space and a sharp reduction in the cost of delivering cargo and humans into orbit. These included the creation of space stations and reusable spaceships. By the 1990s, both institutions collaborated with other space agencies to build the International Space Station in terms of space stations. These and other advancements would be crucial in assisting NASA in reaching the point where risk-taking, novel ideas may be explored. These consist of the ongoing plans to return astronauts to the moon. So, this was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed our content. Like and share the video if you did. Subscribe to Beyond Our Future for many more amazing videos. Stay tuned, as we'll be back soon with another informative video for your amusement. Till then, keep exploring.